So today, we're going to dig into one of those classic stories where what a government says and what it actually does don't quite line up. We're looking at Meghalaya's big green energy promise. And, well, the numbers are telling a very, very different story than the official headlines. And boom, right there, that's the big question, isn't it? This really gets to the core of the problem, the massive gap between a flashy announcement and what's actually happening on the ground. So let's break this all down. So let's rewind a little bit. It all kicked off with this huge promise. Back in late 2024, the government in Meghalaya rolled out a brand new power policy. And man, it had some seriously impressive goals for a cleaner, greener future. And wow, they weren't kidding around with the ambition here. The policy was aiming for 100 megawatts of solar power and another 82 megawatts of wind capacity, all by the year 2030. I mean, these are massive numbers, right? This is supposed to be a signal that a major shift towards renewables is underway. Fast forward just 1 year, and, well, the government's already doing a victory lap. The state's power minister steps up and makes this really big, triumphant public announcement. And this was the big headline that everyone saw. Over half of Meghalaya's power now sourced from renewables. Sounds amazing, right? A massive success for this new policy. But hold on, where did that number actually come from? Okay, so to really get what's happening, you've got to push past those big, flashy headlines and actually look at the data. And folks, this is where the story starts to get interesting. All right, here it is, the number that kind of puts a pin in that balloon. As of November 2024, right before that big new policy was even announced, Meghalaya's total installed solar capacity was just 4.28 megawatts. So let's just let that sink in for a second. The goal is 100 megawatts. What they've actually managed to build after decades of work? Just over 4. That's not just a gap, it's a canyon between the promise and where they're starting from. Yeah, this chart really says it all, doesn't it? That tiny little sliver on the left, that's everything they've built so far. And that massive bar on the right, that's what they need to build in just the next 6 years. It's not just a steep climb. It's like trying to scale a skyscraper. Okay, let's just do some quick back-of-the-napkin math here. To even have a chance of hitting that 2030 target, the state has to start installing about 16 megawatts of new solar every single year. But if you look at their history, they've been averaging less than 1 megawatt a year. So they basically need to start working more than 16 times faster than they've ever worked before. So what gives? How on earth can the power minister claim that over half their power is from renewables if the new solar numbers are so tiny? Well, it all comes down to a little bit of creative accounting. See, the whole thing hinges on one simple question. What are you counting as renewable? You've got the new renewables, that's the solar and wind stuff from this new policy. But then you have legacy renewables. These are huge hydropower dams that were built decades ago. We're talking the 80s and 90s, long before this new green push. And there it is. That's the secret sauce. By lumping in all that power from the old hydro dams that have been there forever, the renewables number suddenly looks fantastic. It paints this picture of amazing progress, even though almost nothing new has actually been built on the solar and wind front. It's a mirage. You know, this kind of thing isn't just a random event. It actually fits into a pattern that you see sometimes in politics. Some people call it announcement governance. And it's kind of a playbook for making big promises that sound great, but might not be built to last. It's like a 4-step playbook. Step 1, you set a target way in the future, say 2030, so nobody can really hold you accountable right now. Step 2, announce these huge, ambitious goals, but you're kind of quiet about where the money's going to come from. Step 3, you pump up your current numbers by including stuff you already had, like those old dams. And then the final step, if you get close to the deadline and you're nowhere near the target, you just blame unforeseen challenges. And if you want a perfect real-world example of this disconnect, despite all the big talk about solar power, just look at the government's own buildings. The source material for this explainer notes that you won't find a single solar panel on them. It's a small detail, but it speaks volumes, doesn't it? So why are we digging into all of this? Because it's all about accountability, right? And the great thing is, you don't just have to take my word for it. You can actually check up on this stuff yourself. And it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you could literally just take a walk around Shillong and count how many government buildings have solar panels on their roofs. Or You could hop on the official power company's website and see if they've reported any new solar capacity. Better yet, you can formally ask the power department for their quarterly reports. They're supposed to track this stuff. And that really leaves us with the big, lingering question. It's easy to make a promise, to announce a bold vision for a greener future, but it's a whole lot harder to back it up with real, transparent proof. And when it comes to holding our leaders to their word, at the end of the day, it's not the promise that counts, it's the proof.